All right. Welcome, Diane Kazer, to the Healing Hacks interview, and thank you for being here. I'm happy to have you here. How's it going?
I'm here is because you have the best name in the world.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
Good, good, great. And so, just to introduce you to the people that will be watching this, um, you have an extensive background. You have a very unique background in that you were a financial planner. At one point, you sold your business, but you were always, from what I take it, is that you were a professional athlete. So you were always in health and fitness, probably even when you were doing financial planning, right? You were always training or something.
Yep.
And then you sold that, and then now you're into. I want to make sure that I'm going to say this correctly because it's a pretty powerful statement. You went from pro soccer player turned functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, also known as the hormone warrior, and visionary game changer in the world of women's hormones and detoxification, which is a subject that I love to talk about.
Yeah. And self-love.
Awesome. So, yeah, I know we spoke a little bit about your background with autoimmune issues, depression, a few other things. So can you just give us some background about how you started on this path? Like, were you in the financial business and then you had these health issues, and how was it that led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So, I'm like most, although you say my background is unique, I feel like my path is very relatable to many women, and I think it's great that we can all see ourselves in each other. So most women that I know and see are the women who are like, I feel like I can secretly change the world and save the universe.
Yeah.
So I think I'm part superhero, part unicorn, part warrior, part alien, part mermaid. I love to live in that space because my inner child is so playful and she will rescue me, just like all of us when we get too serious in adulting, and we're like, feel like everything needs to get done right now and we're trying to control everything. So
Yeah.
I've been professional at playing, I guess you could say, since I was 4. I've been playing soccer, and I still don't know. I think, Ian, there's so many parts of all of us and there's so many parts of me that it's like, did I do it because I really enjoyed competing?
Yeah.
Did I do it because I felt like I wasn't enough and had to prove that I was? Hey mom, will you notice me now that I got a trophy?
Right.
Did I do it because I enjoy camaraderie? Did I do it because I enjoy being outside in the sunshine?
Yeah.
I think there's so many parts to all of us that I think all of that really drove me to just always do my best. And I love people and I love connecting and I love nature. So I've been a competitor, I guess, at everything. And when I really think about it, is like, am I competing against other people?
Yeah.
And maybe a part of me does, but just like all of us, I think that we're all here to improve who we are and what we can do and the creations that we can manifest in this world and do it uniquely and do it for fun and do it for Mother Earth, instead of just doing it for our ego and our self-serving, which is, I think, like the biggest parasite that's going around now.
Yes.
So I played soccer. I mean, I'm 40 now, so I still play. So it's like 36 years of, I've been married for 6 years to a one ball. And I've never been married, so because I've been married to soccer. But when I was about the around 13 is when hormones start kicking in, and that's when I kind of lost a little bit of my sense of self, and I thought that boys, were the answer to love and the next step of fulfilling my life. And so that's right around the time when I started getting awkward, and I started getting like periods that were many women can relate to this, that were they were debilitating, and I couldn't go to school, and I was out of school for 3 days with severe cramps and just bleeding like crazy. And that was when I really started suffering health issues, and that was when I got on birth control. And then the next thing was I went to college and got cystic acne, And then I took Accutane, which you might know this, Ian. Did you take Accutane too?
Yeah, we talked about that. Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you want some chemo? Here, it'll clean up your acne, but it'll destroy your insides, maybe permanently, probably permanently.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
how old were you when you were doing when you doing your chemo?
I was 15 or 16, and I was playing like high level basketball, and I was also put on other medication for like depression, which is probably in conjunction. But yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah, totally, probably in conjunction, because skin issues, I believe that everything is emotions showing up as symptoms, and it's also, gut dysbiosis and all the things that result from that. So
yeah,
I'm of the mindset now that so much of our mind drives our hormones and drives our gut, which our mind drives our gut, which drives our hormones. And so many people think like, oh God, well, I got acne. I don't want to look ugly. I want to be loved. So whatever I got to do, cover it up. I don't want anybody to see like my whatever created this. So I did that 2 rounds.
yeah.
And of course I was in college and drinking all kinds of alcohol then. So, those 2 combined really does wonders for the liver. It's the best liver cleanse ever.
Yeah,
and
toxic.
then super toxic. Then I was eating college food, which is like, then we got the triple whammy. And that's when things really went downhill for me, health-wise. I was still able to play. At that time, I was competing in D1 soccer. And then I was playing semi-pro during my off season. And then when I graduated, that was right around when I was playing semi-pro, and I wasn't really sure where I was going to work just yet, but I was suffering urinary tract infections, and those were debilitating. That was like my next round of debilitation, and I went to the hospital and they put me on antibiotics, and I was like, okay, whatever it takes. I didn't really think twice about that, but then I started having chronic UTIs that sent me off the soccer field. Like, and every woman knows what a UTI feels like. And every man knows what a kidney infection feels like. Most likely, most of us have at least had one of those, and they're no walk in the park. So I had them so often that I said, well, what do I do about this? I especially had them when I was having sex, and they said, just take an antibiotic every day, for prevention. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. An antibiotic, that's like what you take when you're really sick. And I'm like, wait a second, am I really sick? That's when I started really questioning the medical system.
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. One of the things that you brought up was the inner child. And some people listening to this may not even know what that's about, but I had to deal with that. Like, I was so serious for so long, just like trying to reach goals and push myself to the next level. And I had to like pull myself back, and I did some inner child work. And I remember doing it, and I actually started crying when I did it. And because I left that little boy kind of behind, and so like people listening to this, they might think like, what the heck are they talking about? So what can you tell me about like some of the things that people can do, or like what is the inner child essentially?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank your inner child for that question coming out. Because your little boy couldn't play and ask the question unless you really had a relationship with him. So that makes you a good father to yourself as well as a good father to your biological children. So, people might think, I mean, if you don't think that I'm weird, then you probably are adulting a little bit too much. Or, I mean, no, sorry, let me rephrase this. If you don't think I'm weird, it's probably because you have a weird connection with yourself, which means that you have a sense of play. If you think that I'm weird, then this is a great symptom to ask yourself about your inner child's ability to come out and play and rescue your super serious need to fit in, need to please other people, need to control, need to get profits, need to take power and charge and dominate. That's all the mind of the ego. So we have 2 voices at play inside of us at all times. And, you could look at this a couple different ways. There's the subconscious and the conscious. There's the ego and the inner child. And I say that there's a 3rd party in there. This is like the threesome that I love talking about, which is the warrior. So this inner child within us, and this is a study that was done by NASA. So this is a perfect example of what I mean by inner child, is that when we really think about like intelligence and geniusness, what do many of us think that makes a genius, Ian?
Regurgitating information.
Right.
Yeah.
The ability to hear things in school, read books, be book smart, regurgitate whatever they say is the model of what our intelligence is.
Right.
But truly deep down, and this is the work of like Disney, this is the work of Einstein, these people, oops, I forgot to put this on quiet. And my inner child on my phone wants to play. It's so funny. I just said Disney, and that's the chirping sound that it makes when you walk into Disneyland. That now sound. That's my text. I love Disneyland. I have an annual pass. So anyway, some people think that like inner child work is like immature. But really, when NASA did this study, they looked at what geniusness means in terms of NASA's definition, which is the ability to be creative, to express your imagination.
Yeah.
And NASA did this study. So NASA was like, okay, well, we want to see what makes an astronaut so intelligent per their standards. And what they did is they were like, wow, this is a really interesting study. And it helped us improve our space concepts and science and research. And so they said, what if we did this in children? So they took a group. Have you heard of this study before, Ian?
I don't think so.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can send this to you later on. It's like children at the age of 4 to 5, and they did a big group of children, over 1,000 children.
Yeah.
And they followed these children, over 1,000 of them, over a 20-year time period. So what they found is that these children at the age of 4 or 5, kindergarten age, try to guess what percentage of them were considered geniuses based on their imagination.
I think I have heard this. It was like very small percentage, like 2% past 4 or something like that. Is that
other way around? 98%.
Oh, 98%. Sorry, yeah.
Of those children were considered creative geniuses, like their imagination score, like almost all of them had it.
Yeah.
And that's because these kids haven't had like their subconscious brain all the way formatted, because by the time we're 7 years old, we pretty much have most of our subconscious programming complete. The subconscious programming is what the outside world creates within us. It's not what we create for ourselves.
Right.
So we have like imagination, which is our instinct, which is our gut feeling, which is our heart that gets to create all these things. But by the time we're 7, most of us have been programmed according to how mom, dad, teachers, peers, friends, sisters, brothers, family, grandma, grandpa, whatever, they've programmed us like a computer. Yeah. So then by 7, we're kind of more like following the rules because we have to. Yep. So 98% of them were geniuses at that time. Then by the time double that, they were 10. Only 30% of them were considered geniuses. Then you take that into when they were like 17, 15, 16, 17 years old, and only 12% of them were considered geniuses. So we're losing this ability to live in our imagination, which is our true unique gift to the world. Yeah. And that save us from over-adulting or fitting in too much, because this really is what the world needs, is more of our creative geniusness and our intelligence, rather than just, the book smart intelligence. So by the time these kids were in their early 20s, 2% of them, that was it, had their geniusness left within them, and they were afraid to create. They were afraid to be to have an imagination, because when we were kids, when we create, or when we're like, hey mommy, what is that and why, and we're all super curious. Yeah. Because we're vulnerable as children. We're like super curious. We were living from our hearts, and our parents are like, shh, I got stuff to do.
Sit down, shut up.
Sit down, shut up, and just do what the book says, or just do what I say. Or why, mommy, why? Because just do what I say. Yeah. So kids learn at a young age that asking questions and being curious, it equals prison. Yeah. And we go, okay, that hurts. So I'm going to stop being creative and curious, and I'm just going to sit back here and live inside of the prison of what the outside world wants of me. And then we start forming these attachments and addictions and what other people want from us, and we lose ourself. Yep. And then we start filling that void with food and sex and porn and shopping and whatever, pharmaceuticals, even work. So many people are today like addicted to work, and it's because we've lost our sense of self. So I believe that our inner children, the multiple inner children within us, can come back and help us to play again.
And heal, right?
And heal. True healing comes from our ability to play. Yeah. And to connect and laugh and enjoy each other. But that's scary. So right now, so many of us are living with these little inner children that you said yours cried when you let him out of the bed. You know, he was under the bed and he was scared.
Yeah.
So he's staying there. He's like, no, that world is scary. And I don't want to adult today because they tell me that my imagination is worth being shamed.
Yeah.
So when you can be a good parent to your inner child, instead of this inner ego verbiage is just like, shut up, stop talking, you're not good enough. Why would you even try that last time you failed? And that's the mindset we're living in 70% of our day. We're living in like literal fight or flight 70% of our day. And we were only designed less than 1% of the day to be in that fight or flight. So no wonder why our hormones are a wreck. No wonder why we can't listen to our gut feeling, because our kid is underneath the bed or in the closet going,
Yeah. It's fear.
It's total fear.
Yeah. So that's a great point. Fear is kind of like the basis there for the dis-ease or discomfort. And, you know, you speak, you're a hormone warrior. So how would that, so in terms of the inner child, what is the solution? How do you get to open up the inner child? Like, what do you say to somebody that wants to play with their inner child?
Right. And then how does that relate to like hormone imbalances?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Good question. So, our inner child is the little voice inside that says, I just want love. I just want to be in this moment. I don't want to live in the stress of yesterday. I don't want to project my fears from the things that happened then into now.
Yeah.
Which will then become the best predictor of our future. If you want to know where you're headed in your life, look at your past and what your thoughts are about your past. And it's very difficult for any of us to change when we're trying to live in this conscious mind. This conscious mind says, oh, just think happy thoughts, or just create rituals, or just make mantras, or just do the essential oils, or my favorite one, good vibes only.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Good vibes are great, but that's really setting us up for failure, because we just can't live in good vibes all day. We've got to allow our children to cry. Like when this is a conversation that, for example, I had in the shower about 2 weeks ago, and they, you know, these conversations come up in random places. Shower is a great time because you're cleansing, you know? And you can cleanse these old stories. So there was a part of me that was just like, I think it was probably like my 13-year-old, because you got to listen to these voices in your head and go, all right, what age is that voice? What age was I when I learned to speak to myself like that because someone spoke to me like that? Or I observed someone else talking to someone else like that. And typically it's our parents. So I was having a conversation inside of my head, which really means we should be medicated, right, Ian?
Yes.
Yep.
Multiple voices. Yeah.
Multiple personality disorder, you. This is where society obviously shames these inner dialogues, right? Because they want to, control us and put us into the corporate cog of the world. So it was my 13-year-old having a conversation with my 6-year-old, and my 13-year-old's like, just stop, like, just stop this. Like, why do you keep opening yourself up and being vulnerable with people who just keep stomping all over your heart? And my 6-year-old was just like, because why does it need to hurt? Like, why does it need to hurt when people can't receive us? That doesn't say anything about us. It says a lot about them. But really that I kind of just gave you a conversation where the 6-year-old was like, but I just want to be loved. I just want to play. I just want to live in the now. I just want to like go play with snails and bugs and roly-polies. And I just want to go roll in the grass. And I'm not looking for marriage. I'm 6 years old. I just enjoy this connection. And then the warrior, who is like my 40-year-old self, which is what any of us can do, but this takes a lot of work and practice to be able to hear the different voices. And my 40-year-old goes, hey, you guys both have valid points, okay? 13-year-old, you do have a valid point, which other people would say, oh, that's the ego, screw that ego, shut it off. And it's like, but wait, it actually has a voice for a reason.
Yeah.
Give it a voice. Allow it the opportunity to say, hey, we're trying to, okay, 13-year-old, you're trying to protect us. I hear you. I get it. I know that one time that, you asked that boy in a dance when you were at that new school and you didn't know anybody, and you asked someone to dance and they said no.
Right.
But that's not going to happen everywhere. That was just that person.
Yeah.
So I get that you're trying to protect us from hurt, but you know what? If we don't risk this, then we also don't get love, because you can't numb one out and only have the other.
Yeah.
You have to take risk to get on the other side, which is true connection. You've got to chisel those boundaries down that someone may also have had from being hurt, and develop trust with them. So the more that you can develop trust within these inner children within you,
Yeah.
the more that you can trust yourself, and the more that you can trust yourself about others and their judgments, as well as realizing that everybody's just doing their best and other people are acting from these immature senses of self and inner children that they haven't maybe even faced.
Yeah.
So we all get to see each other there.
Yeah, you know what a buddy of mine told me that was one of the best parenting advices, and this goes both ways for the inner child. He said, when your kid is acting up, the only thing you need to ask them is, do you want to give love or receive love? And it was one of the best parenting things, because we're all just looking for connection. And when there's that void, right, we're all just like, we want to give love or receive love. And I say that word to my son, and it's like, boom, just like you're talking about. It's like, that's all they want. That's all we want, right? And sometimes we just stuff it down. So how does that affect if somebody's kind of pushed that inner child down and isn't allowing it to play? How is that affecting their being or their hormones?
Okay, so bringing into physiology here and physicality. So the term autoimmune disease in and of itself is internal self-attack on a part. And we all are taught that, oh, it's genetics. But for those of you who are listening, would you consider that genetics is actually less than 5% of the equation as to why we get disease? And I don't know how much you talk about this on the show, but it's epigenetics is the new science that really determines that we actually have far greater control. And I know people love that word, control, or the parts of us do, that we actually can drive those genes, turn on the good ones, turn off the bad ones, by way of our thoughts, our lifestyle, the things that we're feeding our mind, body, heart, spirit. And I think in my program with the women that I work with, we bring it all together and say, it's not just about doing labs and like treating the labs. It's not just doing like the therapy and inner child work. We have to look at all of these things together, combined with all of the information that you're giving to your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit throughout the entire day. And things are going to come up and you're gonna be like, oh God, I don't know how to deal with this, because you've never been taught that.
Yes.
So it's what are you adding to your body? Like, what kind of personal care products are you using? What kind of food are you eating? And all of those choices are driven by your thoughts about who you are, or what you need to be based on the outside world. So autoimmune disease is, sure, it could be part genetics, and you may have methylation issues. Like I'm double homozygous, I'm MTHFR.
Yeah.
Which, if you look in the forums, you hear people go, oh, well, I'm screwed. I got the MTHFR gene.
I'm MTHFR too.
Yeah. Oh, see, we have so much in common.
So can you just explain to the listeners what the what that is and what methylation is, and maybe like how that works? And maybe how it might be good for them to see if they are dealing with that issue.
Right. So MTHFR, in its like simplest fashion, is to explain it, is to say that your toilet doesn't work that well. Your flusher isn't working that well. So imagine that you go to the bathroom and, we all have that embarrassing moment where we're like, oh no, it's not flushing.
Right.
Uh-oh. And so what happens then is if it's, you get the plunger out and you have to give it some extra support because it's not going down. So we have a major constipation issue now in the world, America primarily. And a big part of that is, of course, due to emotions, but it could have something to do with your MTHFR. MTHFR is something that if you have one or two, like it is said that about half of us have one of these SNPs, which is to say that it's just it's one issue, one little default on your ability to detox harmful chemicals, metabolized hormone pieces, pathogens, which are like bugs that we're like made of 98% bug.
Right.
So when our bugs, we have to be feeding our good bugs too, of course, but like there is a residue, there's a waste that happens when our gut bugs eat, and these gut bugs live in our colon. So we want to feed them healthy things, and the healthy things would obviously be like a lot of greens and omegas and healthy fats and proteins, etc., that we know about, micro and macronutrients, superfoods as well. And
Yeah.
so those bugs, when they get fed, they off gas. And the good bugs will off gas vitamins. It's kind of like a vitamin shop in your colon.
Yeah, like the B vitamins, et cetera, right?
Totally. Yeah. B vitamins and K vitamins and D. And there's all kinds of things that these gut bugs make, but we got to feed them. You know, we can go to the store and supplement. That's a lot of money, and we don't always absorb them. But the better, easier, cheaper, less expensive, arduous path is to add probiotics and life, and then add the life to them, which is giving them fuel like prebiotics. There's other bugs too, and those bugs love sugar. They love fear. Candida is a pathogen that loves fear.
Yeah.
So we can't go in a gut killing spree and just do a candida cleanse without asking the question of, why is this candida here to begin with? It's a symptom. It's not the issue.
Yeah.
So we go in there, and if that candida is prevalent and you've got a lot of fear in your life, you're feeding your body a lot of sugar, lots of alcohol, coffee, lots of unhealthy personal care products, a lot of parabens and things in them, lots of xenoestrogens and plastics and pesticides. You know, candida just loves that stuff. And bread, pastas, gluten, cheese. So it will grow out of proportion. And candida itself, when it gets fed, it releases like 78 plus different kinds of products that are wasteful. It's candida poop.
Like neurotoxins, right?
Totally neurotoxic. And it feels like, when you feed those things, it feels like a hangover, even if you didn't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
So what the MTHFR gene does is, if you have a SNP on that, then like half of us have at least one of the SNPs, and like 75% of us have two, which means that you have like 3/4 of a disabled ability to flush these toxins out of your body.
Yeah.
But it could be modulated by B vitamins, methylfolate. Please don't do folic acid, please.
I was poisoned by folic acid.
You were?
I mean, yeah, I did a detox. That this was back in the day when I didn't really know much about that MTHFR, and I did this detox, and it had folic acid, and I kept getting worse, thinking that like maybe this is part of the detox, right? But now I use the methylated B12s and methylated folic acid, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Carol Dean. So she has this product called Realign, which is a great, anybody listening, it's called Realign. It's B vitamins with methylfolate. And then it also has like methathione and precursors to glutathione. So it helps people with
like NAC and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something that, if for people like us who have MTHFR, and so many of us who have MTHFR, it's very, very common, but it's not a disability. It's just a sign that says, okay, you know, you may or may not have an inability or a slight reduced ability to clear toxins from your body. It may not be acting out. It may be acting out, but it's sure as heck probably going to act out further if you're not taking care of your temple, mind, body, spirit, heart, and feeding all 4 of those every day.
Right.
So what I do just for insurance, Ian, and it just sounds like what you do too, and what I do with all of our clients is, especially B complex for women, it is like a hands down B complex. B vitamins are so important for so many different things in the body. It's a precursor for hormones. It's a precursor for enzymatic reactions in the body. And it's also a precursor to help us detox better. So cool. So
and it's good for the skin, right? It's good for
the skin.
Yeah, all that. So speaking about women too, this might be a good thing to bring up. You know, most women are told when they do get pregnant to take folic acid, right? And so, so what do you have to say about that?
Please don't.
Yeah. End of story.
What?
Yeah, and
this is where I learn a lot about. This is a really good
book. Yes, I love that book.
Yeah. So there's a whole chapter in here. It's probably where I've bunny-eared this. Look at all my notes.
Yeah, he's in my business group.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, this one is flagged on the COMT. I have that too. And COMT is another gene that, you know, when we look at, so if you guys are interested about genes, he talks about, I think, like 8 genes in here, and 8 of the main ones, because there's so many different genes. But again, it's like 5%, right, of everything. However, it really is important if you're a mom. Number one, I always say, before you get pregnant, like, come see me for 3 months. Let me clean you out. Let's get everything like ready to go. Let's do some lab testing, because today so many women, 1 in 5 couples, are struggling with fertility. And then they force pregnancy and they'll go do like all of the artificial hormones to force that pregnancy when the body is really trying to say, and this is what my message is, Ian, and all of the work that I do is that I like to take the work of Brene Brown and the whole concept of shame. And I like to take functional medicine and take the human body, what it's trying to say, and then looking at and considering how our inner child is acting out. That's the work of Gabor Mate. And taking all of these things and combining it to say that your body is such a beautiful vessel. God doesn't make junk. Your reason speaks to you in the language of symptoms, just like your inner child to say, Mommy, I'm hurting. Or Daddy, I'm scared. So something is showing up for you to get compassionate and sit with the inner child and say, what's going on? Do you need to give love or receive love? I love that.
Right.
And so like, what's going on here? But it takes working with a practitioner to help you decode what the language of your symptoms really mean. So for women who are not getting pregnant or like, I can't get pregnant, that is a sign. That is not a sign to take more medications and force the pregnancy and just shove that baby in there. It's a sign to say, something's going on with the mom or the dad or both, because it's like a third, and then a third collective of why a baby can, why we can make a baby. And so then it's like, all right, well, let's dig in and figure out what's going on here. Like, what's your environment look like? Do you have a lot of, 4G and like computers and frequencies going on for you? Do you have a lot of metal exposure? Do you have lots of pathogens? Do you even have enough progesterone to build the nest to house the baby? And so many women now are taking these synthetic hormones, getting pregnant. And I'm working with one right now, and her baby has seizures 3 times a week, and she forced the pregnancy. So there's a big reason here why so many of our kids are born with all these disabilities. It's because of toxicity, and also because methylfolate and not folic acid. This is so archaic that our Western medicine doctors are still saying take folic acid. It can really increase the odds of neural tube defects. And then also what I see on the other side of that is that a woman who is not fertile enough emotionally, spiritually, physically to create a baby, then on the other side, then she has to take this postpartum depression medication. Did you hear the one that's like $35,000 now, Ian?
No. For postpartum medication? Wow.
I wrote a huge post like this on it because I was like, what is this crap? And it's an injection, and it's for depression because these are severely depressed women. And you know what the derivative of it is?
What?
Progesterone.
Oh my God.
It's progesterone, and it's synthetic progesterone, and progesterone is responsible. That's the precursor for GABA, which is what makes us happy. So it's like, let's just simplify this. We're spending way too much money and time and energy on things. It could be so much easier if you just slowed down and listened to what
and bring it back to nature.
Yeah, get back to nature, please.
Yeah. So what you're saying and what I'm hearing is that it all comes down to testing now, because we have the ability to test these things and see, talking about hacking and healing hacks. Nowadays, we have these genetic tests. We have gut microbiome, which the technology is just getting crazy with the AI being able to analyze the gut microbiome. So if someone came to you and they were in disarray and they had all these issues, what's the steps that you take? Like, what do you recommend?
Yeah, which is typically the case. Most women come to me when they're in total disarray. It's unfortunate, but they're like, okay, I've tried everything. I've seen multiple practitioners. I've worked with this therapist. I've worked with the most famous doctors out there. I've done their protocol. I've done their supplements, but the magic of it is where we start to really pull these things together. So, there's let's work on the emotional work, but there's only so much work that you can do in the emotions when you have these gut bugs that let's say there's a parasite, which we see very commonly on stool tests. And I'm not talking about the stool test that you can get from your medical doctor in Western medicine.
Because that doesn't show it, right?
It doesn't show it. We're looking for hundreds of different type of pathogenic species, and the type of DNA testing that we do in these labs are far more advanced. But we're not just looking for bugs, because that's not the most important part too. We're looking at the function of the immune system, because if you have a poorly functioning immune system, let's just say from a marker called secretory IgA, and we have a low secretory IgA, then it's just no matter what kind of gut bug killing spree you go on, no matter what kind of diet that you're on, no matter what kind of supplements that you take or who that you're hanging out with, if you have a poor immune system, you're going to catch whatever is going on around you. So we have to make it not hospitable for these bugs to live. So we have to boost that immune system, and we can see that in the type of stool testing that we do. We can also see it are there more good than bad? And is there dysbiosis happening, which is dysbiosis means there's more bad than good. So
Yeah.
the hack of that would be to look at the lab and go, okay, what kind of opportunistic bacteria do you have? What kind of bad bacteria do you have? Are there parasites? Are there worms? Is there candida overgrowth? Do you have any virulent factors that predispose you for autoimmune disease? We see that oftentimes coming up on our labs too. What kind of markers do you have that show how well your body is doing at clearing harmful estrogens? Because that's a huge one happening now, Ian, is that
I had that.
you have what?
I had a lab that shows me I had a harmful estrogen. It told me I had a 4-OH estrol or whatever.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, now it gives me insight that I can do something further, but this is the power of the tests. So go ahead.
Yeah, and that's COMT too, by the way. COMT is another one of those genetic SNPs, which I have too. So COMT is something that can disable your methylation. You have a couple different phases that your liver goes through where it says, phase 1 goes and looks for the water soluble, phase 2 looks for the fat soluble, and then like clears everything. But you also have to consider your bowels. And if their bowels aren't open, then these toxins can't get through no matter how well your methylation cycles are. So it's really important that, considering the emotions too, is that another hack is that if I'm feeling depressed, everything slows down, right? Yeah. And then you're constipated. If you're anxious, then you may have a lot of like diarrhea, or you're so anxious that you're holding on like this, and that's how your butt looks too. And it's just holding stuff in. Yeah. So if we're doing detox, we also have to make sure that we're giving it a way out. We're sweating enough, infrared saunas, colon hydrotherapy, coffee enemas, castor oil packs. I'm huge on all these things, and I teach this in my program in a very methodical way. So the lab testing gives us the clues, but it's still not like the end all be all, because we have to really x-ray what thoughts someone thinks on a regular basis, the patterns, the beliefs. Because if they come into our program and like you said, they're like in disarray and they really want to heal, that's what their conscious mind thinks. And our conscious mind drives 5% of our physiology. The other 95% is driven by our subconscious.
Right.
So the conscious mind thought that, yeah, I want to heal, and thought good thoughts and rituals and mantras, but you have this self-sabotaging thought in the back of your mind and your subconscious. Let's say maybe you had a mom that was ill all the time, and she taught you that you get love by being ill. That's how you get your needs met. Yeah. I know getting better and getting free from this illness means that I won't get love. So you could sabotage yourself all day long, and you could actually draw in these gut bugs. You could draw in parasites, parasites in the gut can also draw in people. Yeah. So we got to look at the whole thing, but this gives us a clue, because I was working with one client, 2 clients in the last week. One had a really gnarly parasite, and of course parasites always usually lead to thyroid issues. Yeah. Typically blasto goes along with Epstein-Barr, goes along with H. pylori, goes along with thyroid issues, but people aren't looking at that. So, or at least Western medicine isn't. So when I see some parasites, I go, are you parasiting other people's energy? Or are you people pleasing, allowing people to suck you dry, and then martyring and going, no one ever takes care of me, I always give. So they go hand in hand.
The drama cycle. Yeah. Cool. So basically people take these tests, and you mentioned to me like what tests they take. Are those the only tests, which are the GI map and the Dutch test? Mm-hmm. Or do you take other tests? Do you do other tests?
Well, we start with those ones because there's so many other different directions that you can go with that, because those just give us a lot of information for starters. Yeah. Then sometimes people, like, we can see, leaky gut is such a big issue today, and is like the birthplace for so many issues: brain fog, skin issues, hair loss, aging skin, the autoimmune disease, molecular mimicry that creates the autoimmune disease, gluten, like the thyroid, and gut bugs travel everywhere. And then you've got this like systemic issue. Yeah. So those are a great place to start. And depending on the kind of bugs that we see and how someone's doing at clearing their hormones, we can see if their body is like slowed them down and how long it's been slowed down. Mm-hmm. If it's been slowed down for a long time, we've got more work to do. And then we'll work with them more and look deeper into like their complete thyroid lab and look farther beyond just like TSH, T4, T3. We'll look at like reverse T3 and the antibodies to thyroid. And we'll look at ferritin and iron, which, by the way, which is what I see all the time, is that clients will come to us and show us like these labs, and their doctor ran these labs, and their ferritin is on the like literal last number before it would be out of range at low. So it could be like at 30. And if they're any lower than 30, they're considered out of range, but 30 is still dangerously low, but the doctor says nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Same thing with vitamin D. Oh, your vitamin D is like 40, but you're still in range, but optimal is like 60.
Yeah.
So it's just really sad. It's not, labs are only as helpful as the practitioner and the tribe who knows how to interpret them and correlate them with everything and then create a protocol.
Right.
Yourself. So we might go deeper into like hair tissue mineral analysis, where we look at heavy metals and how toxic someone might be, and also their mineral ratios, which gives us a good window of insight of how they're doing with metabolic dysfunction, or if they're actually flushing toxins, or these minerals also show us ratios that dictate someone's mood. Copper toxicity, which so many women are doing copper IUDs today. I went through that same thing myself.
Yeah.
I had Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I reversed my thyroid disease. I got my antibodies down. Anybody tells you can't get free of autoimmune disease, run, because you could absolutely put that in remission. It is not a genetic sentence. It's not a prison. So copper toxicity is 80% of women are suffering from that now.
Wow.
Copper goes along with estrogen dominance, which goes along with candida. Typically, they all three go hand in hand, which is a fungus.
Yeah.
And women who have all these like PMS issues, and estrogen dominance is not just some female thing, it's a male thing too. So a big one, you can say a hack to that would be like, oh, you have signs and symptoms of estrogen dominance. Let's take some DIM. Let's eat some brassica root vegetables, more collard, more kale, more broccoli. But, the foods are great. But like if you took a supplement that's like, 5 pounds worth of broccoli, then you could actually be flushing your good estrogen too. And now you're estrogen deficient. Now you're like vaginal dryness and you're depressed and you can't have sex and your period's out of whack. So testing is always the best way before you just start randomly trying these supplements because a friend told us. Yeah. So I always caution against that before you start trying hacks, that you really understand the best hacks for you. We're far beyond just general hacks. Now we're moving into like the customized hacks and lab and thoughts, and understanding your habits and patterns are the best way to do that.
Yeah. And I've been healing for 10 years. And so I was doing my own hacking testing on my own. And some of them turned out really bad. And what I've learned is that it's better to go with somebody who's holistic minded and knows the tests, so that you can just like target these specific things. And so basically they get these tests done. They see where their gut microbiome is, their hormones, and then they would also take supplements to help like bring them back into harmony, and then also use their mind to clear, like, how does that program look? Like, how do you work with their mind, basically?
Yeah, so with the mind stuff, I walk them through in my program. There's different things that I have them read, different exercises that I give them, a lot of mirror work, a lot of journaling, and just being really mindful about like what things they're attracting into their life, because the things that you're attracting into your life and what you allow people to say to you, or how they treat you, or the boundarylessness that you are, you just start to notice your own patterns. So I teach them to really get curious about those patterns, so they can journal them, and then we can work with them one-on-one. And that's what we do, is like, okay, well, where did this pattern come from? And like, where are you seeing this pattern play out? And where can you see that this pattern may be sabotaging your ability to heal? So we work with that. And as far as like the protocol is concerned, the lab protocol is that we will do let's say a gut healing protocol, but we can't start, and like, please don't start a gut healing protocol before you have your hormones checked, please.
Yeah.
Because the reason for that is that and pretty much everyone at this point that we test is just floored. Their adrenals are not functioning all the way. And that's not the adrenals' fault. That's the gut, but starts with the brain, and all the stress causes that. So their adrenals are not functional. Their thyroid is depleted. They're on Synthroid, but no one told them that if you're treating the thyroid, you need to also lift the adrenals, because they're sisters and they move in tandem. So we need to make sure that your hormones are in check first. We need to make sure that essentially the lights are turned on and there's like movement happening, right? There's movement. You can't clean a whole house after a party when you're not full full-fledged ready to clean the whole house. Like it's kind of like trying to clean up a huge house party with 100 people and you're hungover. You know,
So
that would
basically,
be
like the cells are expelling the toxins and then taking in nutrients, and they hold
right.
on to the toxins if that's not working properly.
Exactly. So supplements and a healthy diet, a cleanse protocol, a gut healing protocol can only work to the extent that you are cleansed enough so that the cells can receive the information.
Mm.
So I see a lot of women doing all kinds of like bioidenticals or even birth control,
Yeah.
which please learn we teach this all the time. Like birth control is just awful for our bodies. And like, if you want to set yourself up for an increased risk of suicide by 3 times and a need for antidepressants 4 times, get on birth
It also
control.
destroys relationships, right? You know, people
Absolutely.
they come off it and they don't realize that it's changing their hormones, and they were attracted by these hormones, and now all of a sudden they're not there, right?
Yeah. And then they've got sex hormone binding globulin issues when they get off of it for like a long time. They don't realize that there's the recovery process for getting off of this. Like we have to restore your body after you get off these medications. Your body doesn't just bounce back. Like a lot of it is really depleted. Your gut's all leaky, you got B vitamin deficiencies, magnesium deficiency. And ironically and paradoxically, we get on these medications like birth control so we can have more sex, but then we have like low drive because our body thinks it's in menopause.
Yep.
So like everything is just low. So the more stress we have, the more stress hormones that are driven up, and then the sex hormones drop and the sleep hormones drop. So this is why stress has such a big component to all of this. And stress could be anything. It could be chemical, biochemical, it could be biological, it could be environmental, it could be, mental, emotional. It's usually mental, emotional.
Right.
So that's why we have to play all of those things. We have to examine all of the sources of stress instead of just going, oh, hey, looks like your cortisol production is low. Let's give you a supplement to make more cortisol. And it's like, what?
How does that
Look at the fact there's a tire that has a hole in it and remove the nail and patch that up instead of just adding more air to the tire that's leaking. So it just doesn't make any sense. Where was I going with all of that? You asked me a question about the protocol. So we've got to cleanse at the same time simultaneously. That's what we do. Whenever we start a woman, we cleanse them first. Instead of giving them a bunch of information and new supplements, and we cleanse them first because
they have to have those detox pathways open, right?
Yeah, and the cells.
Before you can do everything,
Nothing can get into the cells if it's mucked up with like heavy metals and xenoestrogens and gut bug residue. So we've got to clean that out. So there's now a doorway open for the nutrients to get in. Otherwise it looks like this because it's all sludged with crap. So we got to clean that up, then add the supplements. Then people can start to feel like the hacks that they're spending so much money on.
Yeah.
And that's why I say ABC. We always have to always be cleansing because there's so much crap coming at us all day long. So we can't start a gut healing protocol unless your hormones are working and you've got enough energy to clear out a lot of that waste. Otherwise, it's just going to keep moving around and you're just going to keep spinning your wheels on new practitioners, new protocols. And that's because most people aren't doing the mindset work at the same time while you're cleansing and while you're restoring.
So everything you're saying sounds so awesome. And you work only with women. I'm like, do you know anybody that does what you do that works for men? Because I want to sign up.
I know. I've been this has been happening for 2 years because everybody's like, I want my husband, or I want my partner, I want my brother, and they're like, who do you know? And I'm like,
you're like, I don't know.
Maybe you could do it, Ian. Maybe Ian could be the person.
Well, you know what? Yeah, it's possible because this is the direction that I've been going on. And everything I do is something I've done to kind of heal myself and then giving that out to the world. And so, yeah, it's possible that that's already the direction that I'm going in. So, but if someone wanted to work with you, what would be a good place to learn more about you, or maybe find you on Instagram or Facebook and learn more about how to go about doing this, or maybe connect with you on social media?
Yeah, sure. I love connections. I love being connected too, and I love connecting. So
your inner child loves it.
My inner child is so happy to meet new people, and so there's always people who are like, I'm so shy to ask questions. I don't want to be a bother, and I'm like, it's doing the opposite. I'd love to connect with you. I get to feel parts of my heart when I get to help you connect deeper to your own. and get the residue out that's blocking you from your heart. So you can find me on my website. That's the best place to go, DianeKazer.com, which is DianeKaz, like zebra, ER. And on there, you can see there's like at the very top, you can see we put together a really fun masterclass. You can join with us. It's like the top 5 things. And I go deeper into what I talked about today, which is that we've got to address the gut, we've got to address the hormones, we've got to address toxicity, and we have to address what I call your source code, which is like the culmination of your mental, emotional, spiritual, and doing that all together. So you can hear that and hear like a lot of the myths that are out there today, even more than I talked about. You can watch that, join that masterclass with me. That's about an hour long, and it's just like powerful. It's like everything you've been looking for and condensed in like one place with the science. You could also join our Facebook group. It's free to women. There's like 1,500 women in there from all around the world. We've helped last year women from over 15 countries do this work with us. It's called Chi, Cleanse, Heal, Ignite. That's our program.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we do like cleanses that like, if you're just like, who is this person and can I trust her? You could always do a warrior cleanse with us. We do that every quarter. We teach you how to like use food as medicine. You'll find that on there too. And then you could see a lot of other women who have come to us like just in pain and they don't want to suffer anymore in silence. And they say, help, I don't know how you can help me, but I just need help. And that's the most courageous thing that you can do for your inner child. If you don't know how to parent your inner child, work with someone who can support you doing that at the same time, working with a practitioner, because that's what this whole thing is.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I know a ton of my clients would be interested in that because we get these questions asked all the time. So is there any last thoughts, maybe last message you want to send to the people watching this, mostly probably clients, women watching this, that, maybe inspirational or something like that?
I was thinking about that. I was like, for you, this came up, because every interview I do is different. The energy is always different. And what came up for me today is this, because hacks are so popular. It's like, oh, what can I do for a hack? But a hack can also be another way to numb out from the real issues.
Right.
So, and we can get over hacked and we can hack all over the place. But really, like you said earlier, Ian, it always comes back to, we may not have to do as many hacks as we have to do now and spend as much money and time and energy on all these hacks if we really went into the heart.
Right.
Heart hacks is the most abundant, and we're all trying to connect to ourselves and connect to others.
Yes.
So it's more about the process of realizing what things to clear, to simplify, to surrender, and to self-heal.
Yeah.
It's more about removing the things that are standing in your way than adding more information, because we're already so overwhelmed. So it's about the courage to be vulnerable, the curiosity to learn. And doing so in a group setting is the new way of the future, because it's so hard and lonely to do this on our own. 70% of Americans, of adults, they did a test on this too, are considered chronically lonely.
Yeah.
And so we got to get back to our heart, and lab testing is great, but it's also just another sign to show us how far we are away from our hearts.
Yeah.
So I think the heart hacks are the ones that I'm the most in love with. And that starts with a desire to want to learn more about who you truly are and what you came here to do. And we call that your soul goal, in module 1. We're like, what are you here for? Like, what is this all for? Why do you want more energy? Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to look more beautiful? Like, is it just to gain the approval of others, or is there something deeper within you that you really are here to express to the world uniquely in your own way and find your true love by being in service?
Yeah. So I hear it always comes back to love, right? Like love and connection and the soul's purpose, which is amazing because you can really heal just with that alone. So that's amazing and profound. So, and I totally agree with that, which is why I don't know if you're into heart math or any of that stuff, but doing just like sending heart energy, sending love to yourself, sending love to the family, sending is powerful. So, well, I'm sending you heart energy, love, and appreciation and gratitude for coming on this interview. And I'm sure a bunch of my clients are going to connect with you on social media. And thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to stop here.